At the time, both my partner and I were in therapy. He had more experience with it. It was relatively new for me. I had no idea how it should work.
Mm.
That's the kind of the genesis of Theryo, and the idea behind it is to give people kind of more power with their therapy journey, to have more information, access to be able to ask questions. A lot of schools have one therapist or one guidance counselor,
Oh, yeah.
especially in marginalized communities that don't have the resources. The results were amazing. There was a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, and they just got into it. They were amazed when they started learning that you could iterate, ask questions, not just accept what came in. And then our goal was to kind of commercialize that and put it online and have a course to teach children AI.
Hi, and welcome to the 91 Day AI Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I'm really excited today to have Alexander with me from Theryo. We're going to be talking today not just about AI, but about one of the things and probably one of the areas that really excites me, and that's AI and medical related stuff. And Alexander's got some really cool things to tell us. Alexander, versus me trying to butcher your introduction and everything else, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Theryo, and then we'll kind of dig into how you got started and all that. Would you mind just kind of giving us that 30-second overview of who you are and who you're serving?
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I own several businesses. In healthcare and finance. I learned about AI at the beginning when everybody was talking about it and wasn't getting any good results. So I started diving deep into it to learn about AI and how to prompt, and that kind of just led me down the road to using it in my business. I ended up teaching some children, including my son, who's in middle school, and to where I am now. It led me into developing a mental health platform using AI to help therapists and individuals get better results and just better analysis of what's going on in their therapy journey.
I love that, and as I mentioned up front, I'm really excited about the advances we're able to make in medical, and some of the things we're able to do, especially some of the things we're able to do with memory and some of the memory related issues that we run into. Tell us a little bit about that journey. What you mentioned as we were talking up front about kind of how you got started in AI, and it was maybe a little bit different journey than some people might have imagined. Could you share a little bit about how you
Yeah.
got into this, Alexander, and how maybe we got to where we are today?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, when everyone was talking about ChatGPT and it just was released, I obviously tried it. I was getting terrible results. I was kind of using it just like Google, asking it questions and getting
Mm-hmm.
answers, and started looking on the internet for ways to learn about it, which led me to a couple of groups. And one out of those two groups was really effective. Learned a lot about prompting, chain prompting, and then we meet regularly and learn about what's new, what's working, what's not working. So I started using it in my business, and it helped a lot. I was able to get a lot better results. And then I met with a friend, and we started talking about our children and how they definitely needed to learn how to use AI, and felt that they wouldn't learn it in school or learn it very well. And when schools kind of caught up and started to adopt AI, especially in the younger years, younger grades, that it would just be too late. Anybody who did learn AI, ahead of time would be far
Mm-hmm.
ahead of them. So my friend and I, we developed a course and started teaching our kids how to use AI, how to prompt it, how to use it effectively, how to teach them, don't just copy and paste and do
Yes.
homework with it. And the results were amazing. There was a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, and they just got into it. They were amazed when they started learning that you could iterate, ask questions, not just accept what came in. And then our goal was to kind of commercialize that and put it online and have a course to teach children AI. And kind of in the beginning of that, we came up with this idea for a mental health platform and transitioned to that. So we started a company, and now we're developing. We're in beta right now, beta testing of a mental health platform with two sides. One for therapists to help them get information, like you mentioned, with
Mm-hmm.
memory, remember things that happen, give them more analysis to give them a better tool to help patients and guide that journey. And then also for individuals who are in therapy or want to find a therapist, or just kind of just have more input into or more feedback on their journaling. It gives them more structure, more information, and helps them guide their therapy sessions a little bit more to get the best best results, and to be more of a collaborative environment between patient and therapist.
I love that. I love that. And I think, I think it's so powerful to be able to have AI assist in that process. I think, from my perspective, and I'd love to hear yours, Alexander, I really view that AI is a great assistant. In other words, it's a great amplifier of skill and experience. So I'm not a licensed therapist, and I probably wouldn't be a very good one, even if I used AI, because I don't have any skill and experience in that area to amplify. But with your experience and obviously working with the therapists and that, I would assume that at this point, AI has really become a very good amplifier of that to be able to provide more value, not only to the therapist, but also to the end user who's looking for that to assist them along their journey as well. Am I accurate in that assumption, or am I maybe leaping too far ahead?
No, absolutely. I think that's 100% accurate. And I don't think it's just for the medical field. I think a lot of people are afraid of losing their job or to AI. Definitely AI, if you learn how to use it effectively, it's a tool to help you do whatever you do better. I don't think it's going to replace, a lot of professionals like doctors and therapists. It's not going to replace them. It's just going to give them tools to help their patients more effectively, and maybe reduce the time that's needed, because they can remember things. They can get analysis that they wouldn't otherwise, have access to, because nobody's listening to the therapy sessions.
I really like that latter part, especially about just being able to really amplify their time and give them more time to get things done, possibly either seeing more patients or helping out more individuals along the way, because again, of the ability to have AI help with, some of the, I don't want to say clerical, but some of that time consuming aspect. We know that, a transcript of an hour-long session, that, AI can go through that in seconds and know everything about that conversation, as opposed to us as humans. Even if we go at 1.5 speed, we're going to spend, 40 minutes listening to that to go back through it again, and then stopping and taking notes and moving around, and or if they're anything like me, and again, I'm not a therapist, but forgetting what happened in that meeting and losing aspects of it that would possibly, lengthen treatment or things like that, or be able to do other things in there. One question as that comes up, Alexander, you mentioned, your first experiments with ChatGPT, and that weren't real rewarding or necessarily where you wanted to go. What types of AI are underlying the tools you're doing now? Is this custom created tools, or are you using some of the commercial tools on an API level, or is that something you can share? You don't have to share the exact ones, but I'm just curious, what's that underlying engine that you guys are using?
The underlying engine right now is Anthropic's Claude. So we're using the API for that, and we're doing that until we get out of beta. And then we're now in the process of getting another language model, self-hosting it, so that we can train it on our own and correct things. So correct things that come out incorrectly. So if a therapist or a patient says something and the AI responds with something that's not accurate or not in the best way, we'll be able to have medical professionals go in and give it the response that it should have come out with.
I love that.
In the future, it'll be better. So right now we're using just a commercially available API, and we're working to self-host it now.
I love the direction you're going, though, there from a long-term perspective. As I take a look at it from an AI perspective, you've got more capabilities, like you mentioned, for training at that point. You've got more opportunities for data protection all the way around. You can create a model that, again, would provide you guys with, just a much more better trained model that's going to provide better services to and better responses to your audience, whether they be therapists or patients or whomever. I know my crystal ball is a little bit cracked and definitely cloudy, but as I take a look into 2025, I think things that you're doing at Theryo and things like that are going to become we're going to hear more and more about programs like that. Where do you see us headed as we're recording this towards the end of 2024? Where do you see things going in 2025 with the AI space, and any predictions or visions that you have for what types of things we're going to see in 2025 as it relates to AI?
I think going forward, I think it's going to be adopted a lot more. It'll be a lot easier for people to get better results, because when it came out 2 years ago, the biggest thing was prompting. And if you didn't know how to prompt, you weren't going to get any results. Now, a lot of the software has that kind of built in. You can ask a simple question and you can get much better results. So I think it'll be a lot easier for people to use AI, get better results. and then it's becoming, the AI models that are coming out now are smarter and smarter. So I think the tools that are available, whether it's in healthcare or any other field, or just people that want to use AI for business purposes, they'll be able to get a lot more done, a lot easier.
I love that. I love that. The other thing I'd love to dig into a little bit with you, Alexander, is so many people look at AI and wonder, is it this magic money tree? Am I going to be able to make a lot of money with AI? And you've done something really neat in that you've integrated and you're providing a customized solution through that. But what I like about it is that underlying that AI solution is a real practical need that you're solving for businesses and individuals in this case. What caused you to get into this realm as opposed to other realms as you took a look at it? Is there anything particular that guided you here or that led you into the mental health arena as opposed to other arenas when you looked at starting a business and leveraging AI?
I guess the story, and this is going to come out a little bit more when we start doing more marketing. Like I said, we were working on developing or commercializing the AI education for children, and at the time, both my partner and I were in therapy. He had more experience with it. It was relatively new for me. I had no idea how it should work. I didn't know what
Okay.
to do other than go in, kind of sit in the chair and talk, and then just repeat every month. So when we were talking about it, he said, "You know what? I think what you've taught me about AI and prompting, we can solve that problem or make it a lot easier." So
Mm,
that's the kind of the genesis of Theryo, and the idea behind it is to give people kind of more power with their therapy journey, to have more information, access to be able to ask questions. Part of the solution is to let the user journal every day. So they journal about it, and it's just not just a simple journaling app. It will take all those journal entries, analyze them, give you more feedback, and then the reports and the summaries that you receive, you can share with therapists. So again, you're getting more into a collaborative relationship with your therapist instead of just kind of sitting there and talking, getting some feedback, and then trying to move on. And like in my case, I had no idea how things should go, what should be done. So that's kind of how we got into it. We thought it'd be a good idea, a good opportunity. And as we spoke about it more and then started talking to some therapists about it, the feedback was really good. So that's what led us to push forward. We went through alpha testing, got phenomenal feedback, and now in beta testing, the feedback from therapists is really good. They're excited about it, and so there's a lot of features that aren't in the platform now. They're kind of on our roadmap.
sure.
So we get out of beta. We have a lot of other features that we want to incorporate into it, and hoping to do a lot of good. Make money with it, but do a lot of good.
Well, let's face it, we all have mortgages to pay and groceries to
Yeah.
buy and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with making money in my mind. It's part of what has to come along with the process. I think, one of the things that I like so much about what you talked about is I love that idea of having the patients do journaling to share what's going on. Having gone through therapy myself in the past, I think, so often there's weeks sometimes that happen between visits, and there's lots that happens in those weeks that kind of get lost because when you go back in for that 45-minute session, you either don't remember them or they don't come up. And that I love the idea of being able to journal as you go through and have AI utilize that in conjunction with the therapist to continue to provide guidance and support for that end user. I think that's just a fantastic idea. I love that and love how that comes through. Yeah. Again, it's one of those, it's like, oh, wow, that makes perfect sense. I love that. That's great. Tell us a little bit about next steps if you can. Obviously, you mentioned you're in beta right now, and it sounds like you've got a pretty full roadmap of things that may be coming down the road with Theryo. Any things that you would expect that, we as consumers should be looking at or that therapists should be looking at as far as expectations in 2025 and beyond?
With Theryo, with the product?
Yeah, with Theryo, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the goal is to launch it commercially, get subscribers onto it. One of the big markets that we want to go after is to be able to offer the product either for free or at a discounted subscription rate to schools, because I think there's a big issue there with children in schools, and a lot of schools have one therapist or one guidance counselor,
Oh, yeah.
especially in marginalized communities that don't have the resources. So I think this tool, because it adds kind of more experience, more guidance, more structure, not on the side of children, but on the side of the counselor or the therapist, that if they had a tool like this in schools, that they'd be able to be more effective because they'd be able to serve more children.
Hmm.
and maybe get some of the guidance that they wouldn't, if it was a school counselor, they might not have some of the structure or some of the expertise to be able to help the child. And with the platform, they definitely would have more tools, more resources, a knowledge base where it's easy to get cues based on what's happening or what you're entering. Say, here's some resources, here's some exercises, here's some information guides that you can use and share with your patient or with the student. So that's one of the big things we want to do. And then we also have had initial discussions with some venture capital firms about raising capital to kind of speed along our journey and be able to
Hmm.
do more of what we want to do with our roadmap. So the plan is, if we can get through beta with with the trajectory that we are right now with the feedback, and then commercialize it, we'll be able to do a lot of good for therapists, give them a tool that's helpful in their practice and helping their patients, and then on the patient side also giving them a tool to better understand what their therapy journey, ask more
Hmm.
questions, be better prepared for their sessions, to go in there kind of to be able to give a better recap of what's been going on since their last session. And like you said, therapy sessions are a lot of times 45 minutes or 50 minutes. Usually what happens the next 5 or 10 minutes after that is the therapist writes down some quick notes and then moves on to the next patient. And then the next visit, the morning of or the night before, they review some quick notes and then go into the session. So with AI and our platform, it gives them a lot of memory. It gives the patient a lot of memory because they're journaling every day, hopefully. So all the little details that might not come up when they kind of recap what happened between sessions
Hmm.
will come up in these summaries they provide. And the same with the therapist. There's something that might have happened a year ago that they wouldn't have really remembered because they just took quick notes, because everyone's busy now. There's more demand
Absolutely.
for mental health care. There's less providers coming out now because it's just difficult, because the resources are shrinking, the need is higher, and people aren't getting it's even with the insurance, they're not getting, it's difficult for them to get paid, so a lot of people aren't going into the field. So again, it's bigger demand and a lot less supply of providers.
No, it makes a lot of sense. For those of us in business that are listening, many of us are familiar with note takers like Read.ai and Fathom and Otter and things like that record for example, I use Read.ai. It records all my Zoom meetings that I have. And
Yep.
when I'm done, I've got that transcript. And I admit that's been hugely valuable for me to be able to go back to and reference things, because again, it has the entire transcript of that discussion. Um,
Yep.
is that the type of way that Theryo is going to be able to work as well, to be able to help the therapist at that level and pull out those details that maybe, again, were not recorded in that 5 minutes between
Yeah.
patients and things like that? Am I understanding that correctly? But obviously very much tuned for the mental health industry. Is that a correct assumption on my part?
Yeah, I think that's a great example. So I do the same thing. I have an AI app that does that, listens in on all the Zoom meetings, gives out a transcript. We found that, or I found that the transcript was just that, just a transcript of the meeting. It had a couple
Exactly.
of key points. So with prompting, created like a Claude project where we can take that transcript, upload it to Claude, go through our persona or our prompt, our bot that we have, and come out with very specific points that we want to know about the meeting. So I think with the prompting that you always share and the tools that you share in your group, that type of thing can be done, where just kind of you take something that you already have that's maybe just kind of generalized for everybody, and then
Hmm.
dial it into your own purpose. So again, you save time, get more information that's specific to you. So that's kind of what Theryo is. It's taking AI, and you can ask a question and get a mental health response that is going to be pretty generalized. So what we've done is basically that customized it with prompts and chain prompts and personas to be able to go through different stages and output based on what we want.
Well,
And
and that
what
makes so much sense. I'd asked you, kind of 2025. One of the things I think we're going to see a lot of in 2025 is some people call them bots, some people call them avatars, some call them personas, but basically custom trained AI models that are trained on specific data that will allow businesses and individuals to be able to get very specialized information back out. And it sounds to me that that's very much along the lines of where Theryo is at right now in providing a fairly I don't want to say common because it's not common yet, but a fairly standardized type service, but with the customized training that makes it applicable to therapists and their patients. Because, yeah, I don't want to trust ChatGPT to be my therapist. Plain and simple, I don't. I want somebody that's been trained and that has the knowledge, and knowing that you can combine that knowledge really, to me, seems much like my background in marketing. I know that when I train an AI model, a Claude being one of my favorites, on specific characteristics of either a framework or an individual or their teachings or something like that, that the responses that I get out of that are so much more nuanced and specific to my needs, as opposed to the very broad, sometimes even totally made up solutions and
Yeah.
responses that I get from ChatGPT if I don't give it good context or if I haven't trained it. So it's really exciting to hear you talk about that. I think as we look into 2025, those custom trained models, like what I'm hearing you say for Theryo, and again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing there really are going to make a tremendous amount of sense. And we're going to see those in so many different industries as they become available, because let's face it, just the same reason that those therapists have the education and the experience they do, we need some way to capture that and to help AI understand that. So it doesn't just, grab a book of Freud's and say, this is the right answer for every question that comes up. So,
Yeah.
and I love that. I love that. If people are interested in learning more about Theryo, Alexander, and where it's going, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch with you guys?
I think I give you my LinkedIn
You did.
profile.
Yep.
So
I
yeah,
can put that up there and share that.
people can go reach out to me in on LinkedIn, and then our website is theryo.ai.
Fantastic. Well, one of the things I love to ask everybody, and I didn't prep you for this, and that's my kind of disclaimer. There's no right or wrong, though, so it's super easy. We call this the 91 Day AI Transformation Podcast. You obviously, as a business owner owning multiple businesses and that, have a lot of experience, practical experience with AI. For that business owner out there, or that business leader that's looking at AI, and again, as we're recording this the end of 2024, and saying, all right, in 2025, we need to actually take AI seriously and we need to do something with it. What might you recommend that they focus on the first quarter of 2025? Obviously, we want to do enough to make an impact, but we don't want to do so much that it becomes overwhelming. Any thoughts that you might have for, again, a general business owner as to the things they should be looking at in the first quarter as far as AI is related?
Yeah, I think earlier on you mentioned that a lot of people think that AI is going to make them rich or a ton of money. I don't think that's the purpose of using AI. I think AI can save you a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of money, if you know how to use it effectively. So I think my initial journey was just that, learning about AI, learning how to prompt, not to be a developer, or how to not to learn how to program software, but just learn about prompting, what makes a good prompt, giving it context. And now, as opposed to 2 years ago, it's a lot easier to get effective prompts. But what's more important, I think, now is having data sets, or having that context where you can add knowledge to the bot to give it more information, so that you can kind of dial in and be more specific. So I would definitely suggest doing that, learning about prompting, chain prompting, how to what types of data is good to add to your bot, and just find like a trusted person, somebody that's not trying to give you fluff, or sell you a book about 1,000 prompts for $19.99. So your group is phenomenal. I love your group. You got a
Thank you.
following. I find everybody's really respectful in there. It shares information. If they have a problem, not only do you contribute answers, I don't even know how you do it with so many people in the group, how you're so quick to respond. But the information and the tools that you have in your group, that's a great place to start.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much, and
Yeah.
is certainly one of the things we work hard on. Much like you're talking about trying to provide access to the students, we want to really provide access to as many people as possible. I know there's a lot of people out there that are, as you mentioned kind of early in the podcast, worried they're going to lose their jobs. AI is going to cause problems. And while I certainly admit there will probably, and not probably, I'm sure there will be people that will be displaced by that. The same thing happened when we moved from horse and buggy to the internal combustion engine, and it happened when we moved from typewriters to word processors on computers, and all of that, and adding machines to spreadsheets. But I do believe that AI is going to provide far more opportunities for people than it's going to provide negativity. So, that's part of our goals through our group and things like that, is just to try to give people that positive outlook amidst all of the fear mongering that oftentimes we see as it relates to AI. And it's great to talk to a business person like yourself who's embracing the technology as, the future of where we're headed. So I really love the story that you shared, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share that with us as we've gone through and go from there. Any parting comments that you'd like to leave our audience with regarding either Theryo or AI in general as we wrap things in and bring this plane in for a landing, Alexander?
I think just kind of following up what you just said, I think if people are hesitant or fearful of AI and don't learn it, I think that's where they'll have a problem, and that's where they could potentially run into problems or lose their job. If people just take the time to learn AI, learn what it's about, and try to use it, it'll definitely help them in whatever field they're in. And the other thing that I think is amazing, and I see it a lot in your group as well, is people are learning AI and coming up with ideas, seeing what's possible. And I've seen so many people that have created completely new businesses, all based off of AI. People are creating software or bots that they're selling and making money with. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, and you might not know what those opportunities are until you start getting into it. Like I didn't. I had no idea that I would start a mental health app based off of AI when I first started, but you get into it and see a problem, and you can see the amazing things that you can do with AI. And I think that can lead you down to, a different road or a different journey.
Absolutely, 110%. Well, again, I want to thank you for your time. I know you've got a lot going on, and I really appreciate you responding to my outreach and sharing a little bit about what you're doing at Theryo. And I want to encourage everybody, if you're intrigued at all with what Alexander's been talking about, reach out and connect with him, learn more about Theryo, and that it's so cool to see successful business people taking and embracing these technologies and creating solutions that a year or two ago we couldn't have even fathomed. And I absolutely love that. I find that super exciting. So Alexander, thank you for your time. The audience, we want to thank you for joining us. We'd love your review. We'd love if you'd subscribe to the podcast. And we, of course, always appreciate your feedback. With that, make it a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.